All right, guys, so here we go. Here it is, the Panasonic FZ-10 3DO. Those of you who have been following my channel a while know that this is my holy grail. I've wanted one for a long time. And it's finally here. I bought it a little while ago on eBay. And you guys have seen a couple of shorts about it already, but I bought it on eBay and they told me very specifically it was not working. And me being very clever asked the questions, oh, why is it not, or how is it not working? Not why, but how is. Well, plug it in, hit the switch, and the LEDs don't come on. So I was being super duper smart about it and decided I was going to try and diagnose it before it even got here. And guess what? I was correct. Now, so you know, a lot of channels out there that are restoration channels, they'll take something that's perfectly well working and then dirty it up a little bit. Say, oh, we're going to restore this, which really bothers me. And it kind of puts a sour note on a lot of the guys that are proper professional restorers. I certainly am not one of those. But to be honest, this thing is now working. But it was kind of a botched job I put together real quick because I was way too impatient to wait for filming. But there were some things I did in here that I'm going to show you that were not the way they were supposed to be. But it is what I thought it was, and I wanted to be honest with you on that, and I'll show you what those were and why we're changing those out, because I shouldn't be running this system a lot longer the way it is right now. It works, but I want to get it done properly. So, as I said, this is the Panasonic FZ-10 3DO. This is my favorite console that has ever existed. The 3DO was magnificent. It came out in end of 93, I believe 1993. It hit the shelves in time for Christmas and then ceased production in, I believe, early 96. I got my first one, I think, early 1995, and it was just such a special thing. The games were amazing. You'll see some clips around online, but these are fantastic games that were on here. And anytime I sat down to play my 3DO, I knew that it was going to be a good experience, and I knew whatever game I pulled out to play was going to be fantastic. I mean, it's a decent looking system. You know, they're pretty rugged, pretty nice. There were some failure points and some things that were wrong, but you know, they're easily enough fixable, including what we're going to do, and I'll tell you why. But I also want to show you this controller. I mean, this is a great controller. It fit well in the hands. It felt really good, and just even holding this now, oh, I really want to play some Return Fire. So when I first was introduced to the 3DO was actually in 1994, with the Pauly Shore movie, Pauly Shore and Andy Dick in the Army Now. If you watch the very beginning of that movie, they actually work in an electronics store and they are in the back room screwing around with the brand new product, the 3DO, and playing a very strange version of Return Fire. But after that, it's like, ooh, I want to find that system. And a little while later, my friend Michael gave me a Gold Star 3DO. And ever since then, I've been hooked. I had the Gold Star. I've had a couple of FZ-10s. I've had a couple of FZ-1s. I've never had a Sanyo or any of the others, but I have always enjoyed these. And then all of a sudden, they became popular again. And they started going for insane amounts of money if they were fully working, had controllers and stuff. And even if they were broken, you're talking well in the range of $150 to $200 for a broken one. This one I paid $100 for. And I'm very happy about that. Now, it's tough to see on here, but this is actually an NTSC-J. This is a Japanese version. Now, the interesting thing is that the Japanese version is completely compatible with the with the US version. There's no region locks on these games. And to be honest, no copy protections either. But so they can play a Japanese version. A Japanese version will play US games just fine. The only time you'll have a struggle is if you're in the setup menu of the system and it's all in Japanese. In that case, just grab your phone and pull out Google Translate. Other than that, it's It's identical. It's exactly the same system. But what is not the same is the internals. Because Japan runs on 100 volts. The United States runs on 120. And with a really well-maintained and good system, that's not a problem. But there are some parts on the power board that get older as time goes on, and they begin to fail if they are being overrun with power. And that is, I believe, what happened here. Let's crack into this and I'll show you what I mean. Now, to get into one of these, easy enough. It's 7 screws on the back. I need to charge my screwdriver up, it's dying. While I'm doing this, I have to tell you, there are some games that were on the 3DO that were just so special, and many of them were ported to other systems. And games that were fairly popular as well outside of the 3DO. It had the first Need for Speed came out on this. The first Gex game, which we all know and love, came out on the 3DO. And it had other fantastic titles like Return Fire, which was later ported to the PS1. And then there were some games that just never saw the light of day outside of here, like Twisted, Zandhost, and Captain Quasar, and a bunch of others. Captain Quasar, I'm not sure. It might have been other places. But let's crack into this and see. Make sure I don't have a disc in there. I do not. And here we go. Put that over there for the time being. Now, here's the inside. And as you can see, it's, it's not exactly, earth-shatteringly different. The power board back here is where we had some problems. So what we're going to do is not only are we going to repair what I had repaired, but we're going to go through and clean because it's a little bit dirty. We're going to take the RF shielding off. We're going to take the board out, clean anything up, clean underneath it. Look for any signs of potential corrosion or rust, which I don't know for sure, but I kind of suspect there may be a little bit from when I smell this thing. Now, let me pull this out, then I'll show you what I'm talking about. So to disassemble this and get this down to where we need, first is easy. It's just this ribbon cable, and it just pulls right out. Easy enough. Now the board here is separated from everything else. But what we need to do is we need to take out where the power cord goes and where the switch is. There's no soldering or weird stuff needs to happen there. Oh, come on, don't do that. They are clipped in there a little tight, especially this one. So you just kind of push in the clips and then you can wiggle it out. Do I have another tool handy nearby I can use for that? Probably. Am I going to go looking for it? No, I'm not. There we go. So there are the power switch and the power cord port. Now we're going to go ahead and take the couple of screws out that are holding this in, and let's take a look at the main problem here and what I have done right and what I have done oh so wrong. I was going to film this earlier today, but I realized I didn't have any solder. So I had to go to the store. I got some solder and I got some Nico wafers. I got the solder because I can't find my solder. I got the Nico wafers because they're freaking Nico wafers. They're awesome. Time to have a Nico wafer. All right, so here we go with the board. We got those screws out. We're going to gently take this out. I'm going to put this off to the side. And let's take a look at this. Now I want to show you a couple of spots where there were problems. I'm going to use my magic screwdriver flashlight. So right here, this is a 2 amp fuse. It is a 5x20 2 amp fuse. And right here was a 100 watt varistor. Now a varistor is, it's a little bit like a fuse that's kind of like a lot more robust. It'll blow once it goes over a very specific amount. In this case, it was 100 volt or 100 watt varistor. Well, we're running on 120 volts here, so yeah, it had blown and it had taken the fuse with it. I put in a 3 amp fuse. Now, I do not recommend over fusing. I have some 2 amp fuses there, but I put in a 3 amp fuse because we are going 20 volts over normally, so I'm comfortable over fusing this just a little bit. I don't recommend it, but I know this is a really old board, so it's okay. Now, where I did dumb is this varistor. This is a 300 watt varistor, and that's like the equivalent of showering with a fire hose. This is taking your groceries into the house through the Bombay doors. This is way too much throughput to allow to stay in here in case there's any kind of surge. Likely it's not going to blow this and I'm going to get damage from elsewhere. So I actually have some 120 watt resistors here, or 120 volt varistors here. And we're going to take this out and we're going to put the other one in there. The fuse is good for now. But so let's go ahead and do that next. Because if I decide to try and solder on the table, my wife is going to be very angry indeed. Okay, so it's these 2 points right here. I know because I've done them before, but we're going to go ahead and we're going to desolder that. But I'm going to pause for 1 second. I'm going to go get my pliers because I forgot to grab them. Okay, so it's these points right here. So what we're going to do, I'll turn on my... Okay, so it's going to take a second. We're actually going to go 350 degrees C for this, which is hot. It's proper hot, but that's all right. Oh, I need one other thing real quick. Hold on. All right, so I'm going to use my solder sucker for this. Normally I would use that and then use some solder wick to clean everything up. But I don't have any solder wick in the moment because I forgot to get some. Now I could go back to the store and get some more, but that would also require me to buy more Nico wafers. And you're like, no, it wouldn't require you to. Yes, it would. And I've already got some Nico wafers. Plus, it's Saturday. I really don't feel like going out on Saturdays very much. Okay, little tip for when you're soldering and you're taking out solder. Sometimes it's handy. Make sure it's nice and heated up here. There we go. It's sometimes handy to put a little bit more solder back on the joint that you're going to be desoldering, especially if you're dealing with old solder. There we go. Very nice. Almost got it. Almost got it. Oh, come on, that was dumb. And there we go. Now, the funny thing is with varistors is you don't want to really, you certainly can't go under, but you don't really want to go over. You want to stick to kind of where you're supposed to, but the nice thing is that if you're using 120 watt or 120 volt varistor that's maybe a larger size physically, that can help. So these are a little bit bigger than the ones that were in there. The ones that were in there initially were a little bit larger than this. This is quite a bit bigger, so I'm still staying within the recommended voltage, but it's probably going to be able to handle a little bit more. There we go. Look, Mommy, I know how to solder. Are you proud of me? No. I'm sorry. There we go. That should do it. Now, the one thing I do want to check is if this is still going to fit on properly. Yeah, that works. That's close enough. That should do just fine. All right, so let's put that off to the side. We know that's all good. Let's take a look at everything else because it's a little dirty and I want to clean it up. Now, I've seen this happen with some people. I've seen it's happened here. Please don't do this particular thing. It's not good. People will try and take this out before taking the drive unit out. That means bending this up, which means that's no longer going to be flat, which means you run the potential risk of scraping your discs and having things not be balanced. And that we don't want. Well, how do I take this off? There's these weird clips here. And I'll show you, they actually come from this side. You're going to want to shove preferably a Phillips screwdriver or something equivalent of that down in there, and they should just pop out. There we go. There's one. And there's two. Now, this just gently comes off. We're going to replace this tape in a bit, but you can see this is kind of warped. So we're going to do a little bit of work to make that straighter when we put it back in. And the rest of this just comes away. Now I'm not going to unplug it right now because we're just going to do a little cleaning on there, but I needed to more get at this, which meant getting that out of the way. So we're going to move on with this stuff. So we're going to take the screws off that are holding the RF shield down. God, this screwdriver is really struggling. Let me switch to another one. All right, so the RF shield's a little dirty. We'll give that a quick clean now. If we look down at the board, things actually look not too bad. Let's give it a quick browse here. So we are going to take this stuff out. And do it very gently indeed. There, there, and there. Oh, there's two of them in there. Oh, what else is on there? Oh, that's there as well. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different points to remove the drive. Okay, we're going to get to the drive in just a little bit. Let's take a look here. So, all in all, everything seems to look okay. I don't see any blown components, and I know that everything on here is actually working now, like I said before, but also, like I said, I kind of did this bass backwards. Okay, so we got a little bit of dirt down in the bottom here, but not really as bad as I thought. Now let's look at the board. I was worried I was going to see signs of corrosion on here because I thought I had a brief smell of problems, but I think it could just be travel funk. Okay, so there we are. That is a FZ-10 motherboard, and everything appears to be okay. Now, normally what I would also be doing at this point is replacing this 2032 battery. I'm not going to be doing that right now because I know it actually still seems to be okay. So I'm going to leave that for now. But as you can see, this is a little bit dirty, so we're going to go ahead and clean it up. And what I recommend is 90% or higher isopropyl alcohol. Please do not use less than that because you are introducing too much water into the equation. And if you know anything about electronics in any way, shape, manner, fashion, or form, electronics and water don't always mix very well. Alcohol dries very, very quickly, and the higher percentage, the more pure the alcohol is, the quicker it'll dry, and the less likely it is to damage your components. Okay, there we go. So what we're going to do is we're just going to clean from here. Much better. Much better. Got all the dust and the grime out of there, cleaned up a little bit of the crap that was on the RS shield, but looks to be good. I mean, that's one thing I was impressed about with this thing is it's actually in pretty darn nice shape considering it's not exactly young or new. Ah, that's what those are. These are leftover pieces from the old varistor that was in there. Yeah. Gross. Okay, next thing we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this. You see that it's not... So we're just going to take the bottom of my screwdriver, just give a little bit of a tamping down. Much better. And now on here, this is the drive unit, and you want to be very careful here because that is the reading laser head. And you don't really want to screw around with this too much if you don't have to. But as you can see, there's a lot of fluff and guff and junk in here, which I'm not a fan of at all, obviously. Yep. Get all that junk cleaned out of there. Going to grab, where did I put that? Okay, so over here I have just a little bit of lubrication, a little bit of oil that I'm just going to put along here. Give it a little bit better of a sliding. I don't like to use WD-40 on it. I'll use just a little bit of 3-in-1 oil because WD-40 has a nasty tendency to just attract dirt. And so you got grease and oil combined with dirt, which it is attracting like a magnet. And of course, what you're going to end up with is a sludge. So I avoid that. I just use a dab of 3-in-1 on there. And of course, I'm going to go through and clean up a little bit up here. I'm not going to do the head yet. I'll do that in a second. Because you want to be very, very careful when you're doing the head. They're easy to scratch. So I'm just going to use a little isopropyl alcohol. Okay, and that should be good. Okay, we're going to let everything dry, and we're going to let everything sit for a few minutes and kind of collect their thoughts, and I will be back with you in just a few minutes. Okay, so everything seems to be a little bit better now, and my daughter brought me a nice one of these. Am I going to get in trouble for showing it on camera? No, because I'm not that popular. No one's going to notice. But maybe if I show one of those, somebody will try and send me one. I would not be objected to becoming one of those kind of YouTubers where people want to start selling me things. Or not selling me things, sending me things. I'd be down with that. Well, depending on what it is, I guess. A friend of mine actually just gave me, some of you guys saw it on one of my shorts, my friends over at Numbskull just gave me a Terminator 2 Arcade 1-Up arcade cabinet, fully working and everything. The guns just needed a little love. But, so we are good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start reassembly time, which is always exciting. So first things first, we're going to put this in here. I'd say I wouldn't mind being sent stuff, but I mean, obviously, okay. My brain goes in weird directions sometimes. I apologize for that, but there's something that's kind of been on my mind a lot lately, and this is sometimes the part where people turn off the video because I start ranting. I'm really disappointed with a lot of the things that have been going on in the gaming world these days, specifically Nintendo and Sony. I'm not thrilled by it. Xbox hasn't really done much to piss me off, but you guys know me. I'm a fan of the older stuff anyway. But that's one of the reasons I'm such a fan of the people at Atari, is because when you have purchased a nice, lovely one of these, guess what? It's yours. You can do whatever you want with it. And in fact, Atari encourages it. I think Atari is one of the few companies left. And I think maybe Valve as well is pretty good at this, that genuinely cares about the gamers. And that's why I miss companies like 3DO, because I mean, look what a magnificent thing they did. It's so gorgeous. Okay, next, we're going to get this back in. Now this is very, very finicky and touchy, so be careful when you're going back in on this. Okay, that's going to go in. That's going to go in. These ribbon cables, please be incredibly careful with them, because they will tear at the drop of a hat. And I'm not in a position right now where I can go out and buy another drive unit. So we're going to very carefully do this. Let's see if I can pull off a miracle and get all the contact points in without busting anything. Again, yes, I've done it on projects before. Okay, over there. Bingo! There we go. We're going to tuck this nicely down in here. So while I'm going through all of this too, I wanted to ask you, what's your favorite 3DO game? If you're one of the people who have enjoyed the experience of and the joy of having a 3DO. What have you enjoyed? What's your favorite? What's really gotten you as far as this system? Because heaven knows it's sure done a number of things that I absolutely adored. There's so many games on the 3DO you couldn't really experience anywhere else. As far as my number one, it's got to be Twisted, which was a game show style game, and it was absolutely fantastic. It was magnificent, so much fun. A lot of mini games, full motion video, ridiculous host, and it's just such a fun game. If you haven't tried it, I highly recommend it, but it's only available on the 3DO. There's another one that was almost the same game called Zandhost. And now that I have one of these and I have a really decent video capture card coming, James and I are going to be playing a playthrough of Zandhost, which is Twisted in the communist Eastern Bloc. It is hysterical. James is by no means a communist. He's not. But he does have a fascination with the history of Eastern Bloc stuff. Okay. So we are going to play that in the very near future. And we'll probably get the silly hats and drink some Leninade, because that'll be delicious. Won't it, James? Yeah. Okay, I'm going to very gently put this back on here. You look here real quick, we've got spots. There we go, nice and secured. Now we're going to take these that we had pulled out before, give them a little push, give them a little push, and there we go. Still not totally straight, but it's going to be a lot better when the case goes on. We should be good. Back to that power board. So just a recap of what we had done. This was the main problem with the system. Right here, this is now a 120 volt varistor, which is, like I said, a giant fuse. I made it a little bit bigger to handle a little bit more power if something goes wrong, and then the fuse there. That was really the only problem. Everything else seemed to be okay. So, I can still smell the old burnt one in there. But I've gone through, I've multimetered the caps, everything else is good. Plus, as I told you before, I've played around with this thing now. We played some Return Fire yesterday on it. So I know it's good, but now I've made it a little more safe from what it was. We put that back in, put this back in. Make sure that's nice and secure. Looks good. Let's go ahead and put this ribbon cable back in place. And like I said, eBay's trying to get a hold of me. It's weird, I haven't bought anything recently. I think this is the last thing I got on eBay here. Okay, there we go. Please be careful with these cables because they are fragile and heaven knows they're old. That looks good, that looks secure. Let's put those two screws back in, holding the board in. Otherwise, what's the point? I'm ADDing all over the place. I apologize. I don't say that as a bad thing. I genuinely actually do have ADD. I was diagnosed in 1984. Before it was cool. Okay. From our test fit earlier, we should be able to sink everything in here. Yeah, I think that is good. What do you guys think? I think we're doing pretty okay here. Put those back on. Grab the top. Now we've got our 7 points down here. We're going to go ahead and screw all these back in with my not screwdriver because it died, and I think I just want to get a better one. I think I've got another one somewhere, but this thing I'll charge it up and it'll go for 5 minutes. I definitely want to get a better one soon. I got a really nice soldering station and I barely know how to turn it on. It's like, label the buttons, people. The ones I have at work are nicer because it's more basic. But this has a heat gun, which I need, so we do with what we must. There we go, just about there. So tell me down in the comments, those of you who are 3DO people, what have you got? Have you got a FZ-1 and FZ-10? Have you got a Gold Star? Have you got a Sanyo? Have you got something else I'm unaware of? And if you do, from where, how, and how do I get one? Okay, I'm cleaning up just a hair here. There we go. I am eventually going to do a cleaning on these controllers because they feel fantastic. It could just be nostalgia that they don't feel quite as good as I quite remember, but they feel really good. But I think I'm going to go in and give them like a little cleanup because I'm pretty sure this thing hasn't been touched in 30 years. So if you want to see that video, let me know. Maybe I'll just make it a short. But should we plug this thing in and make sure I didn't blow everything up? Okay, so here we are. We are plugged in, ready to go. Let's check this out. Need a disc, need a disc, need a disc. Yep, the sampler. Let's make sure I didn't blow the whole thing up. Look at that. I see things. Do you see things? Come on. Gimme, 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 gimme. Sweet. Cool. Okay, well that is the that's the fix up and what I did for this 3DO console. I hope it's been of some use to you guys. If it has, do me a solid and throw me a like, throw me a subscribe. We're only 20 subscribers away from hitting that magic 1,000. And let me know if you do want to see a video about the cleanup on these, because I'm probably going to do them anyway. May as well film it. And if you guys want to see it, let me know. We'll go ahead and do that. Till that, I really appreciate it, guys. You guys have been fantastic. And we will see you on the next one. Have a great day. Enjoy your weekend.